Have you ever wondered about the history of statistics, its development, its timeline? Do you want to know more about these people? Well, you are watching the right video. Let's start in 1532, first weekly data on deaths in London. Sir William Petty will not be a statistician by today's standards, but during his time a statistician was merely one that employed the use of quantitative data. Because obtaining census data was difficult, if not possible, especially for Ireland, he applied methods of estimation. The way in which he would estimate the population would be to start with estimating the population of London. The way he would use deaths would be by multiplying the number of deaths by 30, estimating that 1 out of 30 people die each year. To obtain the population of all of England, he would multiply the population of London by 8. In 1539 marked the start of data collection on baptisms, marriages, and deaths in France. In 1605, the beginning of parish registry in Sweden. In 1654, Fermat and Pascal helped lay the fundamental groundwork for the theory of probability. From this brief but productive collaboration on the problem of points, they are now regarded as the joint founders of probability theory. Fermat is credited with carrying out the first ever rigorous probability calculation. In it, he was asked by a professional gambler why, if he bet on rolling at least 1/6 in 4 throws of a die, he won in the long term, whereas betting on throwing at least 1/6 in 24 throws of 2 dice resulted in his losing. Fermat subsequently proved why this was the case mathematically. In 1662, John Grant published his book Natural and Political Observations Made upon the Bills of Mortality, which used the analysis of the mortality rolls in the early London as Charles II and other officials attempted to create a system to warn off the onset and spread of bubonic plague in the city. Though the system was never truly created, Grant's work on studying the rolls resulted in the first statistically based estimation of the population of London. Jacob Bernoulli is known for his numerous contributions to calculus, but his most important contribution was in the field of probability, where he derived the first version of the law of large numbers in his work Ars Conjectandi, Latin for the art of conjecturing. The law of large numbers is a theorem that describes the result of performing the same experiment a large number of times. According to the law, the average of the results obtained from a large number of trials should be close to the expected value. The dots tend to become closer as more trials are performed. In 1714, on Reasoning in Games of Chance by Huygens and the Doctrine of Chances by Ella.Amba. On Reasoning in Games of Chance is Huygens' treatise on probability theory. The Doctrine of Chances was the first textbook on probability theory. Ella.Amba wrote in English because he resided in England at that time, having fled France to escape the persecution of Huguenots or members of the Protestant Reformed Church of France during the 16th and 17th centuries. In 1763, after Reverend Thomas Bayes' death, his solution to a problem of inverse probability, also called Bayesian probability, was presented in an essay toward solving a problem in the Doctrine of Chances, which was read to the Royal Society. This essay contains a statement of a special case of Bayes' theorem. In 1812, Laplace issued his Theoria Analytica de Probability, in which he laid down many fundamental results in statistics, The first half of this treatise was concerned with probability methods and problems, the second half with statistical methods and applications. Statistical Society of London was founded on 1834, February 21, and in 1887, the society became the Royal Statistical Society. The American Statistical Association is the main professional organization for statisticians and related professionals in the United States. It was founded in Boston, Massachusetts on November 27, 1839, and is the second oldest continuously operating professional society in the U.S. The ASA services statisticians, quantitative scientists, and users of statistics across many academic areas and applications. In 1889, Galton published a book called Natural Inheritance, which included a summary of the information he discovered regarding correlation and regression, including the main concepts he found and techniques he discovered. Galton first recovered regression, which he initially called reversion, by experimenting with sweet peas. His sweet peas produced seeds with a normal variation of sizes that regressed from the distribution of their parents. In 1900, Carl Pearson was able to investigate the properties of chi-squared tests. Pearson's chi-squared test is used to assess two types of comparison: tests of goodness of fit and tests of independence. In 1901, Pearson, Weldon, and Galton founded the journal Biometrica, whose object was the development of statistical theory. The principal focus of this journal is theoretical statistics and to promote the study of biometrics. In 1903, Pearson first described the principal component analysis. In his article on lines and planes of closest fit to systems of points in space, Pearson discusses the graphical representation of data and lines that best represent the data. He concludes that the best fitting straight line to a system of points coincides in direction with the maximum axis of the correlation ellipsoid. He also states the analysis used in his paper can be applied to multiple variables. Principal component analysis is a statistical procedure that uses orthogonal transformation to convert a set of observations of possibly correlated variables into a set of values of linearly uncorrelated variables called principal components. In 1908, William Seeley Gossett published the book The Probable Error of Mean under the pseudonym of Student. In 1911, George Yule, a British statistician, published the book An Introduction to the Theory of Statistics. The text was intended for those who possessed only a limited knowledge of mathematics and proved a great success. It was a book clearly reflecting Pearson's approach to statistics, but containing many of the notable contributions made by Yule. In 1933, Kolmogorov, a Soviet mathematician, published a book on the empirical determination of a distribution, which explains the contribution to the study of the possibility of determining a distribution function, knowing the results of a finite number of trials. In 1935, Fisher's book, The Design of Experiments, was published after he pioneered the principles of it and elaborated the studies of analysis of variance. He furthered the studies of the statistics of small samples. It has been highly influential, effectively founding the field of design of experiments. Harold Hotelli introduced relations between two sets of variables in 1936 when Knapp notes virtually all of the commonly encountered parametric tests of significance can be treated as special cases of canonical correlation analysis, which is the general procedure for investigating the relationships between two sets of variables.